Not okay from obviously Fight Talk, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Robert Palin, and to my right from Fightstore Media is Alastair Magee. KSW 40 went down tonight in Dublin's 3 Arena, as you can see just behind us. What an event it was. Robert, talk to us. What did you think of KSW's first venture into Ireland?
Aside from the trouble that we're going to have to talk about, because I'm bringing the trouble, everyone's talking about it on the internet. Aside from that, I think the card was very entertaining, and the production, we were just talking about coming over here, the production was amazing. It's crazy to see a event like KSW competing with the UFC. Like, I came to the UFC here twice in the 3 Arena, and the production was pretty much on par, I think.
I thought it was better.
Probably better, yeah. Like, it was real kind of old school MMA, I thought. But it was a great event, you know. Aside from all that trouble, it was a great event.
Alastair, if you're ready and not tongue-tied, what was your initial thoughts of the show?
It felt as if we'd stepped in a portal and came out in Poland. The amount of Polish fans that turned up tonight was unreal. The whole production-wise, it was awesome. Like, Bama, I've never seen anything like it at other shows in Ireland, and the fights lived up to the hype as well. Barred a little bit of crowd trouble, it was a really good show.
The way I look at it, when you go to a family wedding or something, there's always someone who gets drunk and acts an arsehole, and unfortunately that's what happened here tonight. There was an attendance of, I'm terrible at figures, 100 million at the show. I'd say there was roughly 9,000 to 10,000 people at the show tonight, and unfortunately a few people drank too much and got out of hand and let the emotions run wild with the fight. That's all I really want to say, and I want to talk about the fights a little bit. And the first fight I want to point out is Paul Reza Redmond gets back in the win column. We watched the fight cage side, and I was shocked when we started to hear split decision getting called out. Now, I have to point out, it was made a little bit more confusing. The fact that the first announcer sort of gave out the scores in Polish, so, you know, great for the probably 80% of the crowd, but we were sort of a little bit lost. So when he said Redmond, the referee even sort of half raised Paul's hand, and then when he said Kaliki, we're going to call him for now, they then said split decision. What did we think of the fight? How were we impressed with Reza, what he brought into the cage?
Yeah, I thought it was a good performance. I do think that he definitely won the fight clearly. I don't see how you score it the other way. Good performance though, and it's one thing I will note is that Paul Redmond seemed very, very happy. Like, we interviewed him before. I'm not saying he was sad at the last fights, but he seemed a little bit down with his performance. In this fight, I thought he seemed a little bit happy, and I think as well with the promotion, I think that's a big thing. He seemed really happy with the promotion. He seemed really happy where he is. But it was a good performance, and I don't know how they scored it a split, to be honest. But
I don't watch, just watch. Pressure on you now, because Paul Reza Redmond is a Fightstore Media sponsored fighter. So what were you impressed with, Paul?
I think it was a great opportunity for Paul, and I think he lived up to what he said he'd do in there. I was very impressed with his striking. He showcased that big time tonight. He was pushing the tempo as well. He is really going for it. And I think one of the rounds they scored 29-28 to his opponent, which was a bit odd. But
what rounds did they score?
There was a couple of fights where there was a couple of split decisions, and you're like, really, and even a couple of decisions that I didn't agree with. I know some other people may have disagreed with me as well, but there's a couple of fights as well.
You're going to say Paul Lawrence and Conrad Owanski. You thought Conrad
I thought Conrad done enough. So there was a couple of odd decisions, but it's not even like that there was a lot of Polish judges. We spoke to Martin on the show. So I'm not saying that. I just thought there was a couple of different weird decisions.
If you're a watcher of obviously Fight Talk, you'll know that I never stop talking about Paul Lawrence. I thought he had his hands full tonight with Conrad, and I thought the fight lived up. It somewhat when Paul looked like he wanted to trade more and throw, as he's known as a boxer. But when I got to the mat as well, Paul was showing a new wrinkle to his game. Showed up a couple of submissions there, working with Wayne. So credit to Paul, he's adding things and he's adding different facets to his game. Conrad looked like he gassed sort of in the third. I thought it was close. You had said Conrad, and a couple of people around us thought Conrad. And I think when
the crowd as well.
Yeah, and I think when the score was called out, I think Paul Lawrence was a little surprised himself.
Continued as well. So
of course. The Housewife's Choice looked devastatingly beautiful in there as always, and got the victory. Looked like he had a dart stroke tied up in the second round. Went for it a lot, and Chris spoke to us afterwards, and he looked at his hand is blown up from he recently had surgery on his hand and only got the wires removed, I think he said a couple of weeks ago, and the hand definitely swelled up. But Chris Fields really impressed. Alastair, with Chris Fields,
if you think about it, he done most of his training camp with a broken hand. That just shows how impressive that victory was. Like, it was great to see him back in there because he's had so much bad luck over the last year, and I was delighted to see him get the victory tonight. Very, very impressive on the mat, like constantly looking for submissions, and he was unlucky not to get the Darce choke in the second round, I think.
18 months since he last fought. Momentum, Rob, is a big thing in MMA. Hopefully this is the start of the snowball, and he'll get active. He's speaking about potentially going home and speaking to the wife about fighting in December. I haven't had to have a conversation with the wife about fighting in December, but I've had the thing about going away to Manchester, and I know it's a non-win fight. But again, we'd like to see Chris Fields in there again, yeah?
Yeah, like Chris.
Sooner rather than later, I should say.
Sooner, yeah, because Chris has had a bad string of
three fights that got cancelled. Yeah,
3 fights that got cancelled. And again in the 3 arena as well. That's where you're supposed to fight. So I'd definitely love to see him in there again. I'm sure he'd love to get in there again because I don't think he has a long time left in the sport. He said that a few times. It's not really putting words in his mouth. He said that he only has a few fights left. So it'd be good to get him in the cage regularly. I don't know if it's going to be December. That probably will be a little bit too soon, especially with the hand. But the performance itself was very, very impressive. I was very impressed with his ground game. But even like there was moments in the fight.
The Kamara trap was beautiful.
Yeah, the Kamara trap was beautiful. Like, that's what I'm saying. Even though there was moments in the fight where you were expecting Chris to maybe play it safe a little bit because he was out grappling his opponent, but he went for things like that, and that's what he was talking about. What did he say? A beautiful picture. I want to paint a beautiful picture with his blood, which I think is a brilliant quote.
Patrick Bateman like.
But it was a good performance. Definitely love to see him in there soon.
Right, so then the big one that the promotion was selling a lot on leading into this as well was Storm and Norman Parke taking on Mateusz Gamrot. The fight really was delivering. We were 2 rounds into this fight and they were really both fighters throwing heavy shots, looking for the finish constantly. Parke, I was excited by seeing Norman Parke in this style, his aggression in the fight. He really stayed in the pocket. We were talking here as we were walking over to the beautiful Eddie Rockets outside the 3 arena, and I was saying, I gave Parke round 1, and you were going, I don't know, did you really think he won that fight? But what did we think of the fight? And then we can get into the madness.
It was great to see how aggressive he was in that fight. He wanted that fight. You could tell he wanted it right from the first punch. He was constantly walking forward. He was telling Gamrot to come forward. Like up until the eye poke, I think I had scored the first round to Parke, and then Gamrot started to come back in the second round, I thought. But it's just unfortunate it ended that way because I'd like to see how Parke would have came into the fight in the 3rd round.
What do we think of the no contest decision? Because there was an eye poke in the 1st round, I think it was. There was a grind shot as well, and then the eye poke that finished it. Now Gamrot in post-fight with us had said that he felt Norman was looking for a way out. Do we buy into that, or do you think maybe Gamrot's just talking the big game?
Yeah, I don't think Norman was looking for a way out. The no contest, maybe, I'm not going to say it's to do with the crowd, but it's, I think if
probably the best thing to happen, considering.
I think it was the best thing to happen. What I tweeted after the fight was that I'm glad there's not a grudge match between an Irish and a Polish guy next because of what happened. But just on Parke's performance, very, very good. But it wouldn't be a Norman Parke fight without a bit of controversy. Without a close fight. And I think the funny thing is we always talk about Parke and say if he comes out aggressive, usually he looks good, and usually he can take over in fights. This one, he comes out aggressive, he looks good, but it was still close. So I don't know what is with Norman Parke. He can't get out of these close fights.
Well, I said it to him in Belfast after his victory over Paul Redmond. I said, what is it with Norman Parke and controversy? It follows him everywhere in MMA. And again, tonight, now Gamrot has said he doesn't want Parke anymore.
Yeah.
Now I've won the 1st fight. He felt he was winning the 2nd fight
he
tonight.
The 2nd fight
that Norman Parke was looking for a way out. So, like, it's a weird one for KSW. Like, realistically, Norman Parke's safety has to be an issue here, bringing that fight to Poland.
Oh, of course, but realistically, from a promotional perspective, that is the fight to make.
Oh yeah,
there's no doubt about it. Look, what other fight you're going to make? If you make Gamrot versus anybody on the planet, it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. And if you do Parke versus anybody on the planet, it just doesn't make sense. This is the fight. Like it's not like Parke lost this one. That's 1 loss and 1 no contest. So it's the perfect fight to make. The stories there, like KSW, they thrive on this.
They love it.
They absolutely love this. I'm not talking about the trouble. I'm talking about the storyline going into it. It's everything is there. This is the perfect MMA fight. It's just where do you put it? I don't know. You don't want that to happen again.
I think they'd have to put it in a neutral place. I don't know if putting it in Poland would be a good idea again.
Maybe they're talking about going back to Wembley, aren't they? They had a show or something.
I think if Parke had to win that fight, he would have been put himself back in contention with the top lightweights in Europe. But it's just disappointing. Like
from a fan's point of view, you sort of feel robbed, don't you, after watching the fight? Like.
And like it's all across social media now, and it's a bad taste for a lot of people because
it's a bad look for MMA. Like you have an MMA show coming to Ireland, a big MMA show coming to Ireland, where like 99% of the time nothing like this happens. I think it's important to say that because a lot of people who don't know MMA, they're going to look at this and they're going to say, oh, that MMA show where there's all these guys who are drunk and they're going to fight. That doesn't happen. Like I've been to so many MMA shows and I haven't seen one fight apart from in the cage. That's the first time I've seen a lot of trouble. Maybe there was a bit of arguments, you know, when I was at the show in Vegas there was a few arguments, but there was nothing. It was a drunk guy. Stuff like that doesn't happen, but it's going to give MMA a black eye. It's a bad look for MMA. It really is, and especially in Ireland where, let's be fair,
the media's against it.
The media is against it.
Like Ray Darcy right now is getting a message on his phone and he's quivering. He's literally, you know, and he is. And this is the thing. Like I know, like every night I go to bed, my missus listens to the phone show on FM 104. 100% I'll be lying in bed going, oh, for God's sake, because they'll be talking about this and they'll be blowing it out of proportion. Now I do have to say,
it was bad.
It was bad, and as you said, it was a black eye. Norman Parke had to leave early because he had to go, obviously, to get attended to in a hospital because his eye is basically shut. But all in all, I thought, like, KSW, the one thing I thought they done is they said to Bama and they said to Cage Wars, and even they said to UFC, so there's your bar, here's their bar. They really brought, like, they ticked every dot, like in production wise. There was good fights, there was storylines, like they said. Unfortunately, it's been this it's going to get a bit of a bad name with the what happened in the crowd. But like I said, at every family wedding, one uncle will always say something bad, and unfortunately in a crowd of that amount of people, like I think as the sirens ring behind us, you know, I just think it was a great success for their first venture into Ireland with the Polish community here in Ireland. I thought it was great, and like, you know, the Irish fighters as well. This is one point I want to make. The Irish fighters showcased themselves really well tonight as well. So they showed themselves really well tonight, as in, you know, they were fighting high-level guys as well. And, you know, I think if my mathematics is right, I think we had 3 wins and a no contest for Irish fighters tonight. So it was a successful night for Irish MMA.
Yeah, very successful. 3 Irish fighters on the card got the wins, and Norman Parke was unlucky to have his fight ended that way. I think it was they showed themselves they could compete with the best in Europe as well. So hopefully Redmond and Fields can get more fights in KSW, because I think it's a great promotion for them to be on.
It's something that I put to Paul Redmond post fight was, you know, you're riding a winning streak now. Norman Parke's fighting later in the card. Is that a fight that you want to avenge? Like that potentially, if they want to steer away from Gamrot, Redmond Parke too?
Yeah, it does make sense. I know I went back and I said that no other fight makes sense. It makes sense in certain ways.
I just first time you've contradicted yourself.
Yeah, I just don't think it takes precedent over what we saw in there. But it would be a good fight to make. It's there, you know. It's there.
So, in summary, I thought KSW was a great night. There was great fights, good matchmaking throughout. I thought the Irish fighters represented themselves very well. Unfortunately, as we said, the black eye was the trouble in the crowd. But look, if they return, I honestly think that stadium's going to be sold out again. And like I said, what's great about this is domino effect in MMA. You've seen it when Conor exploded, MMA exploded even more in this country. So with KSW, you're going to have Bama. Bama are back here on the 10th of November. They have a great card with Bellator, and they're looking at that. They had representatives in the crowd tonight, and they're looking at that and going, lads, we need to step it up. They have stepped it up with a super card, but I'm intrigued to see what Bama are bringing in November now.
Decent food in the media room as well.
Yeah, tuna rolls. Who eats tunas? Bananas, oranges, water.
Yeah, it was there when we got there.
I didn't have any. There was none.
I had a banana and I had an orange. But yeah, this has been Noel O'Keefe for obviously Fight Talk with Robert Pollan and Alastair Magee. Go and check out all the fight interviews on obviously Fight Talk and Fightstore media. KSW, great success for Dublin and Irish MMA. But go and check out all the videos and all the fights. I'm sure you'll get a dodgy stream somewhere. Peace.